Hi. All right, so this is my introduction to getting actually started with our Ewes and Yarns anchor sweater. Now, let me give you a little bit of background about where the Ewes and Yarns comes from. Our guild has decided that we would like to have a fiber festival of our own in February. You'll see the dates, February 21st and 22nd. But the emphasis on our fiber fair is to highlight and promote the local creators, makers, farmers, producers, dyers, so that we can support our local economy and our local fiber community. There are a lot of people in this area that are very much into the fibers, and we don't really have a good way of connecting with one another. So we're hoping that this will be a way of introducing the makers and the buyers and users to one another so that we can really help promote our local economy and our local producers. That said, those of you that ordered your yarn through us for the sweater, you should know that the alpaca that is in your yarn, and for most of the yarns it's between 75 and 80% alpaca, is from a local shepherdess who is about 2 miles from my home. The merino that is in it is also locally sourced. The only fiber that is not local is the bamboo and silk that is used to provide the color. The yarn has been processed at a very small, independent mill outside of Sinking Springs in Berks County. And the gentleman who owns that mill has been amazingly cooperative and helpful in getting all of this done for us in a timely manner. The yarn is still on the cone at his suggestion and at our quick jump at it, because it means we don't have to cake up 8 skeins of yarn. Because it's still on the cone, it is still under tension. So what you'll see is that the yarn itself seems exceedingly fine. And I did touch on this a little bit during our the swatching discussion. This is the yarn right off the cone. And then when we take that yarn and we actually block it and wash it, you can see how much, look at the difference in the diameter of that yarn. So while you're doing your swatching, the yarn is going to seem amazingly thin and flimsy, but as soon as you block that swatch, it comes out looking beautiful. It fills in nicely. It's a nice solid fabric. But the benefit of having it on the cones is that it's easy enough. You've got a sweater's worth of yarn on one cone there. It's easy enough to knit it up. There's very few need for making joins and all of that. So it's made the processing job easier for the mill, and it makes it easier for us as well. So that's part of what I wanted to share. Now, because it is a locally produced yarn and it is a smaller mill, it's not as processed as the stuff that you would typically buy. And because it's not as processed, there's a little more what we call VM in there, vegetative matter. So as you're knitting, you're going to have to pull out, you're going to see like, here, can you see this? You're going to pull out little bits of fiber that are in your yarn. And it's just, it's just the nature of the beast when you do something from a small mill that they don't, because it's not processed as much, which is actually better for the economy or for the environment. You'll get little tidbits of stuff in there. So you just pull it out as you go. It's no big deal. All right. Now, I want to talk a bit more about getting started and our pattern sizes and what you did on your swatch. So when I did my swatch, and I touched on this a bit on my last video for the swatching, when I did my second swatch with the size 7 needles, that's the swatch that I did if I were going to do the pullover. That's this one. This is the swatch that I would use if I were going to do the cardigan. I've decided I want to do the pullover. I think I'll wear it more as a pullover. And I really am happy with the way that, like, the patterning, the coloring, everything on this is working out. It looks so much better in person than it does. It's really hard to get the lighting right to really show off the yarn the way it looks in person. But I'm going to make the pullover sweater. So what that means then is I'm using the bigger swatch. So for the bigger swatch, I have 21 stitches in 4 inches. So that means I want to know how many stitches per inch do I have. Well, 21 divided by 4 is 5 1/4. So I have 5 1/4 stitches per inch. Okay? Now, the circumference that I want for my sweater, my bust, not that, we'll get a little personal here. My bust is about 40 inches. The amount of ease that I want, that means how loose do I want it? I like it to be a little looser. I don't like things real snug on me. So the ease I want is about 4 inches. So I'm going to have my bust is 40 plus the ease, which means the circumference of my whole sweater is going to be 44 inches. Now, how do I know how much ease I want? Basically, what I do is I take a top, doesn't have to be a sweater, but I take a top that I like the way it fits me. And then I measure the diameter, the diameter of the sweater right underneath right at the underarm, straight across. I measure that. Well, that's the front. Then I double it for the back. And then that tells me on the top that I measured it was 44 inches. So I know that that's how much ease I want. I want it to be about 44 inches. So what I'm going to do is, if I want it to be 44 inches, I'm going to take 44 times 5 1/4. And when I do that, I get 231 stitches. That should be a 3. All right. So when I look up at this chart where it says body stitches, and I go across, the number closest to 231, which is very convenient, is 232, which means the size that I'm going to make is going to be the extra large. All right, so let's suppose your number came up to 220. Well, you could decide you're going to follow the size large, but you're going to cast on 8 extra stitches, or you could decide that you're going to follow the size extra large and you're going to cast on 12 fewer stitches. Or you could just say, all right, well, if it came up to 220, that's going to give me maybe 3 inches of ease. Maybe I'm happy enough with only 3 inches of ease instead of 4 inches of ease. There's a lot of wiggle room here. This is not anything that has to be exactly precise. And on top of that, it's wool. It's stretchy. All right. So I'm going to make the extra large size. The adjustments I need to make, I have longish arms, so I'll make my sleeves a little bit longer. I may play with the length of the body of the sweater. We'll talk about that when we have our second class over those sorts of adjustments. But make note of it now and put markings on your pattern now so that when the time comes to do it, you don't forget that you wanted to do it. Highlight your pattern. Every time you see anything that has a multiple set of numbers, like mine is extra large, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, it's the 5th number in. I go through the pattern and I circle every one of those 5th numbers so that when I'm reading the pattern, I go exactly to what I need, so I'm not guessing. Now wait, which one am I making? Which number do I need? Get all that done now before you even start anything. It's going to make the rest of making the sweater go so much better. Okay, next video is going to be actually starting the sweater.